Chapter 12. The Awakening of the First Soul.
The city around John buzzed with the familiar rhythm of souls bound by illusions. But there was something different now. A tension in the air. A stirring of something deeper. Sophia's light, long buried in the souls, had started to flicker awake. Yet the path ahead was still fraught with obstacles. The Archon's influence, though diminished, remained strong. They whispered old lies, clinging to the souls as they struggled to break free. John's steps were purposeful as he moved through the streets, his focus drawn to one particular soul. It wasn't the brightest of those he had seen, nor the most advanced on its journey. Its light was faint, trembling, but within that fragility, John sensed a profound potential. This soul had crossed the chasm, leaving behind the false promises of the material world. But now it stood paralyzed, caught between its first steps toward awakening and the lingering pull of old attachments. The familiar figure of light appeared at John's side. Its glow comforting and steady. Together they observed the soul whose inner light wavered, flickering under the weight of doubt and fear. The soul has begun to awaken, the figure said softly. But the process is not yet complete. Though it has crossed the first threshold, it now faces the deeper struggle. Releasing the attachments that have defined it for so long. These attachments, rooted in the false self, must be abandoned if the soul is to fully embrace the light of Sophia. John watched the soul, feeling its inner turmoil. Its light was visible but dimming under the burden of long-held identities and desires. Those personal attachments that were far more difficult to sever than material cravings. These weren't grand illusions like wealth or power, but subtle comforts, familiar routines. Memories of past lives and a sense of self that had been shaped over eons. Letting go of these would require more than a simple step forward. It demanded an act of deep trust and surrender. How can this soul awaken fully? John asked, his voice filled with concern. How can it release these attachments when they have been its entire sense of self? The soul fears that what it is being asked to release is its true self. The figure replied, its tone compassionate. The Archons have woven their lies so deeply into the souls that they confuse their attachments with their essence, but what the soul is clinging to, the false identities, the past comforts, was never real. The soul's true self, its divine nature, lies beyond these illusions. To awaken fully, it must trust in Sophia's light and let go of the false self. As John listened, the scene around him shifted. The soul now stood in a vast open space above. The light of Sophia shimmered softly, calling the soul forward. But all around it, the shadows of past lives lingered, whispers from the Archons, subtle reminders of the familiar tempting the soul to turn back. The soul hesitated, its light dimming as it listened to the echoes of old attachments. John could feel the soul's fear. This wasn't the simple fear of losing material possessions or status. It was a fear rooted in identity. The soul had built itself from lifetimes of experiences, memories, and roles. These false selves had given it a sense of meaning and stability, even if they were rooted in illusion. Now, faced with the prospect of stepping fully into Sophia's light, the soul was terrified of losing everything it thought it was. The Archon's whispers are still strong, the figure said, its voice soft yet firm. Even when the soul begins to see the truth, it fears that in letting go of what is familiar, it will lose itself entirely. The Archons make the soul believe that without its attachments, it will be nothing. But that is their final illusion. The soul's divine nature, its true essence, can never be lost. It has always been there, waiting to be remembered. John felt a deep empathy for the soul. He understood the gravity of its struggle. This was the critical moment, the point where many souls faltered. The first step, leaving behind the more obvious lies of the material world, had been difficult, but this was harder. Now, the soul had to face the intimate, personal attachments that had defined its very existence.